I agreed to marry a Korean mafia boss to save my father. I didn't realize until I reached the altar that I was marrying the wrong brother. Amara knew it was a mafia wedding because no one looked happy. They looked prepared. The difference mattered. Weddings were supposed to buzz. Whispers, laughter, the soft chaos of people adjusting dresses and emotions. This room held none of that. It was quiet in the way a courtroom was quiet. In the way a room became silent right before something irreversible happened. White lilies lined the aisle in perfect symmetry. Candlelight flickered along marble floors polished to a mirror shine. A string quartet played near the altar. Classical, elegant, restrained. But the music didn't soothe. It sharpened the air, each note precise and controlled, like it was keeping time for something inevitable. The people were wrong. Men in tailored black suits sat with military posture, shoulders squared, hands folded neatly in their laps. Their eyes didn't linger on the bride. They tracked movement, exits, corners, each other. Women wore diamonds and silk like armor, heavy, earned, not decorative. No one whispered, no one shifted. Even the smiles looked approved. Amara walked down the aisle because the men behind her were not there to escort. They were there to make sure she finished the walk. She felt them more than she saw them. Two shadows at her back. Polite distance. Quiet pressure. The dress was heavier than it looked. The train whispered over marble like it knew it didn't belong here. Her bouquet trembled slightly in her grip, the stems biting into her palm. She focused on breathing. One step, then another. She had agreed to marry Kang Ji-hoon because the alternative had been delivered in calm, courteous threats. Her father's business dismantled, his name erased, his safety uncertain. Ji-hoon had been charming on the video call. Warm smile, perfect English. He'd spoken about protection and mutual benefit like those words didn't come with teeth. "You're brave," he'd said. "Not everyone would make this choice." As if showing up to be traded was courage. Amara hadn't corrected him. She hadn't told him that bravery didn't usually come with a private car and silent men watching your hotel door. She hadn't told him that bravery didn't feel like nausea in the back of your throat. She simply nodded, because her father had sounded like a man walking toward a cliff. "Please," he'd whispered into the phone. "Amara, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't know who they were." Now she was here, in Seoul, walking toward an altar that looked like it belonged in a cathedral, but felt like a courtroom where the verdict had already been decided. Then she saw him. The man waiting at the altar wasn't Kang Ji-hoon. Amara realized it before her mind could fully catch up, before denial could soften the blow. This man was taller, broader. He didn't adjust his cuffs or glance at the guests. He stood perfectly still, like the room had been built around him rather than the other way around. Stillness radiated from him like gravity. His face was striking in a disciplined way. Sharp jaw, controlled mouth. Dark eyes so unreadable they made Amara feel measured and found. Interesting. And wrong. Her steps slowed, then stopped. The moment stretched like a wire pulled too tight. His eyes narrowed, just one blink, and Amara watched recognition harden into calculation. "You're not her," he said quietly in English. The words weren't angry, they were factual. Amara swallowed, throat tight. "No." The officiant faltered mid-Korean sentence, confused by the language shift, his words trailing off into silence. The man's gaze flicked once over the crowd, toward the front row, where an older woman sat like a queen carved from ice. Her posture was perfect, her expression sharp enough to cut. She did not look surprised. She looked displeased. Then the man's eyes returned to Amara. "What is your name?" "Amara Lewis." "Kang Jae-min," he replied, voice even. "My brother's bride." Her pulse slammed so hard she felt it in her throat. So where is he? Jaemin didn't hesitate. Gone. Gone meant anything in this world. Fled, captured, dead, hiding, betraying. Amara's stomach dropped. Cold spread under her skin. The room seemed to tighten around her, the air suddenly heavier. The guests waited. She could feel it. The collective stillness. The silent calculation. This was the moment they would remember. The moment she would be labeled useful or disposable. Jaemin leaned closer, his voice dropping so only she could hear. You can refuse, he said evenly. But refusal has consequences here. Amara's fingers tightened around the bouquet until the stems bit into her skin. She wanted to ask what kind of consequences. She wanted to demand answers, to turn on her heel and run. She wanted to throw the bouquet like a weapon and scream that she was nobody's fix. But she didn't. Because she knew what refusal meant in rooms like this. It meant you became a problem. And problems were solved. And acceptance? She whispered. His gaze held hers, unflinching. Acceptance means you live. Not romance. Not comfort. Not happiness. Survival. Amara's mouth went dry. She thought of her father's voice, thought of his apology, ragged and scared, thought of how quickly the world closed in on people who didn't belong. She also thought of the older woman in the front row, the aunt, she realized. The true ruler of this room. Not the missing groom, not even the man standing beside her. She tilted her head slightly as if listening to the music. And she made her decision. Proceed, she said. Something flickered in Jaemin's eyes. Not surprise. Not relief. Respect. His jaw flexed once, a muscle jumping like he was restraining instinct. He nodded to the officiant. The vows resumed. The room exhaled as if a bomb had been disarmed, and Amara Lewis married the wrong brother. There was no reception. There was paperwork. Amara sat in a dark-paneled study, still wearing her wedding dress. The skirt pooled around her feet like something that wanted to escape. The room smelled faintly of old books and expensive liquor. A fire burned low in the hearth, more for atmosphere than warmth. On the table in front of her lay a stack of documents thick enough to feel accusatory. Jaemin sat across from her, jacket removed, sleeves rolled neatly to his forearms. He looked unchanged by everything that had happened, composed, controlled, still. But Amara noticed the way his fingers flexed once, as if he'd had to stop himself from doing something at the altar. Two elders sat near the fireplace. The woman from the front row, his aunt, sat rigid and regal, hands folded, eyes cold. Beside her sat a man with silver hair and a soft smile that never reached his eyes. The terms are standard, Jaemin said, translating the aunt's Korean. Protection, non-disclosure, exit clause. Amara blinked. Exit clause? Jaemin met her gaze. Yes. The aunt spoke sharply, voice clipped. The silver-haired man watched Amara like he was studying the most efficient angle to break her. My aunt says you will not embarrass this family, Jaemin translated calmly. Amara leaned forward, elbows on the table, wedding bracelets glinting under the study's light. Tell your aunt I didn't ask to be here. The room froze. The aunt's eyes narrowed, sharp as knives. Jaemin didn't move. She understands. Amara didn't believe that for a second, but she admired the way he said it like law, not interpretation. The aunt spoke again. The silver-haired man's smile deepened by a fraction. Jaemin's gaze didn't shift as he translated. She says you agreed. That you will honor the agreement. Amara's laugh came out thin. I agreed under threat. The silver-haired man said something softly, almost amused. Jaemin didn't translate the exact words. He didn't need to. His eyes turned colder, his posture subtly tightening. Amara understood anyway. The threat is the point. She picked up the pen. Her hand was steady, even if her stomach wasn't. If she was going to survive this, she couldn't survive it as a trembling victim. She had to be sharp. She had to be difficult. She had to be more trouble alive than she would be dead. She signed the first page. Then she paused. "I want copies," she said, placing the pen down deliberately. "All of it." The silver-haired man chuckled. Jaemin's gaze turned glacial. "She will have copies." The chuckle died instantly, like someone had snuffed out a candle. Amara's pulse jumped. She hadn't expected Jaemin to challenge his own elder in front of her. Not like that. Not so bluntly. The aunt spoke sharply, irritation rising. Jaemin's voice stayed flat. "You will give her copies, or you will explain to the council why my wife is treated like a prisoner." The aunt's face tightened. Amara's breath caught. Jaemin didn't look at her as he said it, didn't soften it into comfort. He simply placed a boundary so clean it could not be ignored. "My wife." The words should have felt like a label. Instead, they felt like a shield. After the elders finally rose and left, the door closed behind them with a quiet click. Amara exhaled slowly, realizing she'd been holding her breath. Jaemin stood and moved toward the window, hands behind his back. Seoul glittered below like a field of distant stars. He looked at it like it owed him answers. "Why you?" Amara asked quietly. "Why step in?" His answer was immediate. "Because my brother running makes us look weak. And you're fixing his mess." "Yes." Amara hesitated. "Do you hate him?" Jaemin's expression didn't change. "Hate is emotional." "That's a yes," she murmured. For the first time, his gaze cut to her. Sharp. "Do not confuse discipline with lack of feeling." Amara held his eyes. "Then tell me the truth." He exhaled slowly, like he was allowing himself to say something dangerous. "My brother was meant to marry a Korean woman from a powerful political family," he said. "The engagement was designed, public, strategic." Amara's stomach tightened. "So why was I flown in?" Jaemin's eyes darkened. "Because the political bride discovered something she was never meant to see," he said, "and decided to sell it." Amara went still. "Sell what?" Jaemin didn't answer directly. Instead, he said, "Ji-hoon needed someone without local ties, someone who couldn't be pressured, someone expendable if necessary." Expendable. The word landed heavy. Amara let out a bitter laugh. "So he picked someone who could be trapped." Jaemin didn't deny it. He only said, "I did not choose you." Amara's throat tightened. "But now you are under my protection," he finished. Protection didn't sound like romance in his mouth. It sounded like a shield. And for the first time since she landed in Korea, Amara felt something close to safe. Because he didn't pretend this was pretty. He didn't sell her a lie and call it love. He told her the truth. And in a world built on deception, truth was a kind of power. A week into her new life, Amara learned a truth that chilled her blood. Jaemin ran the streets, but the house, the internal kingdom, belonged to his aunt. She learned it in small humiliations first, the way staff waited for permission before speaking to Amara, the way her meals arrived approved and measured, the way the household schedule changed without warning, as if the building itself had moods. Then one morning she stepped into the bathroom and found her world quietly rearranged. Her toiletries were gone. In their place, pale floral bottles, whitening creams, products made for a woman who wasn't her. A note lay beside them, written in crisp, elegant handwriting. A wife should present properly. Amara stared at the note until her fingers trembled. She wasn't naive. She understood what it meant. It wasn't about lotion. It was about control. It was about the aunt reminding Amara who ruled this house. Amara took a slow breath, then picked up the note. Instead of tearing it, she carried it downstairs. Breakfast was already set in the formal dining room. The aunt sat in her usual place, posture perfect, expression carved from ice. Staff moved silently around her, refilling tea, placing dishes, avoiding eye contact. Amara walked straight to the table and placed the note in front of the aunt. The aunt looked at it, then at Amara. She spoke in Korean, sharp, clipped. Jaemin wasn't there, so Amara smiled sweetly and said in careful English, "I don't know what that says, but I know what it means. I'm not a doll. I'm not here to be corrected." The aunt's gaze sharpened. Her reply was harsh, fast. Amara understood one word: foreigner. Amara's smile thinned. "Yes, and I'm still your nephew's wife." The air went still. Even the staff froze. Then, behind Amara, a calm voice cut through the tension like a blade. "She is my wife," Jaemin said in Korean, smooth and lethal, "and she will not be managed." Amara didn't turn right away. She let the shift settle, let the aunt feel it. Only then did she glance back. Jaemin stood in the doorway, suit immaculate, expression calm. His eyes met hers, steady, protective, not possessive. Then he faced his aunt. The aunt snapped. Something sharp, displeased. Amara didn't understand every word, but she understood the accusation in the tone. "She is a liability. She will embarrass us. She doesn't know her place." Jaemin's response was quiet, controlled, lethal. And then he did something that changed everything. He walked to the head of the table and pulled out the chair beside him. For her. Amara's heart pounded as she sat. The aunt's lips tightened. But no one argued. Because in that moment, it wasn't the aunt's house anymore. Not fully. After breakfast, Jaemin walked Amara toward the stairs. His pace was unhurried, but his posture was tense, as if he was holding back anger. "You provoked her," he said. "She provoked me," Amara snapped. "She thinks she can erase me with skincare." A corner of his mouth twitched, almost amusement, almost approval. "You're not afraid?" Amara's chest rose with a shaky breath. "I'm terrified. I just refuse to show it to people who want me small." He studied her for a long moment. "Good," he said quietly. Amara blinked. "Good?" "I didn't marry a woman who breaks easily," he replied. "It would be inconvenient." She scoffed, but her cheeks warmed. "Inconvenient." Yes. They reached the staircase landing. Amara paused. "What happens now?" she asked. Jaemin's gaze darkened, the humor evaporating. Now he looked like a man listening for footsteps in the dark. "She is not the only one watching you," he said softly. Amara's spine went cold. "Who else?" He hesitated, just a fraction. Then he said, "My brother." Amara swallowed. "Ji-hoon." "Yes. And you said someone else?" Jaemin's eyes flicked away for the first time, like the words tasted wrong. "And someone my family pretends doesn't exist." Amara's breath caught. "What does that mean?" Jaemin's voice dropped. "It means you are not the only secret in this house." Amara didn't sleep that night. She lay in the guest suite they'd assigned her, luxurious, quiet, controlled. She stared at the ceiling until the darkness started to feel like pressure. "Someone my family pretends doesn't exist." The phrase moved through her mind like a knife sliding slowly under skin. At some point near midnight she rose, wrapped herself in a robe, and walked to the balcony. Seoul spread beneath her in glittering layers, endless and alive. The city made her feel small, but also anonymous. Out there, she might be just another woman looking at lights. In here, she was a bride in a cage. The balcony door opened softly behind her. Amara didn't turn. "I'm not sleeping." Jaemin's voice came calm from the shadows. "I assumed." She heard him step closer, measured. "Tell me," Amara said quietly. "Who doesn't exist?" Silence stretched. Then Jaemin said, "You shouldn't know." Amara turned then, eyes narrowing. Then you shouldn't have said it. He stared at her for a long moment. His expression was controlled, but his eyes carried something deeper. Caution, reluctance, and a weight that didn't belong to a man who never broke. Amara stepped closer. I'm already in this, she said. I married into your family in front of a room full of people who looked ready to erase me if I blinked wrong. I deserve to know what kind of secrets I'm surrounded by. Jaemin's jaw flexed. You were never meant to be more than a solution, he said. Amara's throat tightened. And now? His gaze held hers. Now, he admitted, you are a complication. She almost laughed at the understatement. So tell me. Jaemin exhaled slowly, like he was allowing himself to open a door that had been locked for years. There were 3 of us, he said. Amara's breath caught. 3 brothers. Jaemin nodded once. Ji-hoon, Amara murmured. You, and... The middle brother, Jaemin said. Kang Seo-jin. Amara searched his face. Why have I never heard that name? Because the family erased him, Jaemin replied. On purpose. Amara's stomach turned. Why? Jaemin's gaze shifted to the city lights, distant and unreadable. Seo-jin was brilliant, he said. Not charming like Ji-hoon, not obedient like me. He learned things he wasn't supposed to learn. He questioned the wrong decisions. He refused to disappear quietly. Amara swallowed. Did they kill him? Jaemin's eyes darkened. No, he said. Which makes him more dangerous. Amara stared at him, pulse pounding. Dangerous to who? Jaemin looked back at her, and for the first time, his control felt less like calm and more like restraint. To everyone, he said, because he doesn't want what Ji-hoon wants. What does he want? Jaemin's voice dropped, quiet and sharp. He wants the family to burn, and he wants to decide who survives it. Amara's skin went cold. And my marriage, she whispered, is part of that. Jaemin didn't deny it. Instead, he took a slow step closer. You need to understand something, he said. Ji-hoon is reckless. He wants admiration. He wants to win. Amara's throat tightened. And Seo-jin? Jaemin's gaze turned darker. Seo-jin doesn't want to win, he said. He wants to rewrite the board. Amara exhaled shakily. Then she forced herself to meet his eyes. And you? She asked. What do you want? The question landed heavier than the others. Jaemin held her gaze for a long moment, the city lights reflecting faintly in his eyes. Finally, he said, I want you alive. Amara's chest tightened. That's not the same as wanting me, she whispered. Jaemin's jaw flexed again. Tension, struggle. Then he said quietly, like it cost him something to admit. I don't know what I want when it isn't necessary. Amara stared at him, heart pounding. For the first time, she saw the truth beneath his calm. He wasn't cold. He was trained. Trained to survive. Trained to manage. Trained to sacrifice feelings before they became liabilities. Amara took a slow breath. Then learn, she said softly. Jaemin's gaze sharpened. Learn what? He asked. What it feels like, Amara said, voice steady. To choose something because you want it, not because you have to. Silence stretched between them, charged and heavy. Then Jaemin looked away first. Just a fraction, like he was afraid of what he might do if he kept staring. Go inside, he said quietly. Amara hesitated. Are you ordering me? His gaze returned, dark and direct. No, he said. I'm asking. Because if you stay out here with me, asking me to choose, I may choose badly. Amara's breath caught. Not fear. Something warmer. Something dangerous. She nodded slowly, then stepped toward the balcony door. As she passed him, Jaemin's hand lifted, hesitated, then dropped again, clenched at his side like a man resisting instinct. Amara paused at the threshold and looked back. "Good night," she said softly. Jae-min's voice was rougher than before. "Good night, Amara." She went inside, but she didn't sleep, because now she understood. She hadn't married into a love triangle. She had married into a family war. And somewhere out there in the dark, the erased brother was breathing, waiting, watching. The first time Amara felt Seojin watching her, she was alone. It was late afternoon, the house unusually quiet. The aunt had left with her entourage, the staff reduced to a skeleton crew that moved like ghosts. Amara wandered the West Wing, a place she'd been subtly discouraged from frequenting, pretending she was only curious about the art. She knew better. Curiosity was currency here, and she was learning how to spend it carefully. The library doors were ajar. Inside, tall shelves curved around the room, the spines of old volumes worn and unlabeled. Sunlight filtered through narrow windows, dust motes drifting like suspended breath. Amara ran her fingers along the books, grounding herself. That's when she heard it. A breath. Not close enough to touch. Close enough to register. Amara stilled. "Come out," she said calmly, though her pulse spiked. "You're not as invisible as you think." Silence answered her. Then a voice. Low, smooth, unhurried. "You noticed. That already makes you inconvenient." Amara turned. A man leaned against the far shelf, half in shadow. Korean. Similar bone structure to Jae-min. Same sharp jaw, same dark eyes. But where Jae-min carried discipline, this man carried ease. Not charm. Not warmth. Confidence sharpened into something predatory. "You must be the ghost," Amara said. His mouth curved faintly. "Kang Seo-jin, the brother they erased." Amara's stomach tightened. "You shouldn't be here." "Neither should you," he replied, eyes flicking briefly to her ring. "Yet, here we are, bound by other people's decisions." She straightened. "Why are you watching me?" Seojin stepped into the light. The resemblance to Jae-min was undeniable now, like a mirror warped just enough to be dangerous. "Because you're the variable," he said. "Ji-hoon was predictable. Jae-min is loyal to a fault." "You?" His gaze lingered. "You don't belong to any of them." Amara folded her arms. "That doesn't answer my question." He smiled slightly. "It does. You weren't chosen because you were disposable. You were chosen because you're uncontaminated." The word made her skin crawl. "Like a lab sample." "Like leverage," he corrected. "You don't owe this family anything. That makes you powerful." "Or dead," Amara said. Seojin's eyes glinted. "Only if you let them decide for you." Footsteps echoed faintly in the hall. Seojin stepped back, already dissolving into shadow. "Tell my brother," he murmured, "that I'm done pretending I don't exist." Then he was gone. Amara stood alone in the library, heart hammering. For the first time, she understood something terrifying. Seojin wasn't hiding from the family. He was circling it. The attack came 2 nights later. Not rushed, not sloppy. Professional. Amara was crossing the inner courtyard after dinner, the air cool and still, when the lights went out. Total darkness. Hands grabbed her arms, hard and precise. Her mouth opened, but a cloth pressed over her lips before she could scream. She bit down. Someone cursed. The world erupted into motion. Gunfire cracked through the night, sharp and deafening. The grip on her arms loosened as bodies hit the ground. Someone shouted in Korean. Someone else screamed, "Amara!" Jaemin's voice cut through the chaos. She dropped to her knees just as his hands found her, pulling her into his chest, shielding her with his body. He turned them instinctively, placing himself between her and the threat. "Are you hurt?" he demanded, scanning her face, her limbs. She shook her head, shaking. "They knew exactly where I'd be." "Yes," he said grimly. "They did." Footsteps approached slowly from the darkness. A familiar voice followed. Still protecting what you don't own, brother? Seojin stepped into the courtyard, gun lowered but visible, expression calm. Jaemin turned, fury flickering beneath his control. Leave. Now. Seojin smiled faintly. You're predictable. Amara pulled free of Jaemin's hold and stepped forward. You staged this, she said. Seojin's gaze shifted to her, impressed. You learn quickly. Why? She demanded. Because Ji-hoon was always a liability, Seojin replied. And you are leverage. Jaemin's voice dropped to something lethal. You touch her again, and I will end you. Seojin laughed softly. You won't. Because you still believe in family. Amara's voice cut through them both. No. They turned to her. He believes in control, she said steadily. And I believe in choice. Seojin studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded once. Good. Then choose carefully. And disappeared into the night. Amara's legs gave out. Jaemin caught her immediately, his grip tight, protective, shaking with restrained violence. This changes everything, she whispered. Yes, he agreed grimly. It does. Amara didn't sleep. Every sound felt sharpened, every shadow too deliberate. She found Jaemin in the kitchen just past midnight, sleeves rolled, hands braced on the counter like he'd been standing there for hours. You're awake, he said without turning. So are you. Silence stretched, thick and charged. They touched you, he said quietly. They tried. Jaemin turned then. The control on his face was still there, but strained, pulled too tight. You shouldn't be here, he said. I don't want to be alone. That honesty landed harder than any argument. He stepped closer, not crowding, but close enough that she felt the heat of him, the tension rolling off his body. You don't understand what this does to me, he said low, knowing someone put their hands on you. Then stop pretending you don't feel anything, Amara said. His jaw clenched. You think I don't? Her hand moved before she could stop herself, fisting in the front of his shirt. Feeling the solid truth of him beneath. Jaemin sucked in a breath. His hands stayed at his sides, still choosing restraint. Tell me to stop, he said. Amara didn't. She stepped into him. The kiss was immediate and intense. No hesitation, no softness. His restraint snapped just enough for him to grab her waist and pull her flush against him, like he needed to feel that she was real. For a moment, everything narrowed to heat and breath and the way his control wavered under her hands. Then he broke the kiss abruptly. Forehead pressed to hers, breath rough. This is a mistake, he said. Does it feel like one? She whispered. No, he admitted. That's the problem. His thumb brushed her hip once, lingering, dangerous, before he forced his hands away. If we cross this line now, he said, I won't be able to protect you the way you deserve. Amara searched his face and saw it clearly. Not rejection. Fear. She nodded slowly. Then choose me when you're ready. Jaemin closed his eyes briefly, like the words cost him something. I will, he said. I swear. They stepped apart, but the air between them still burned. Nothing would ever be the same again. The next morning, Jaemin gave her an exit. I can have you out of the country within 48 hours, he said quietly. New name, new life, protection that doesn't depend on this family. And you? Amara asked. I'll finish this. She stared at him. You mean you'll sacrifice yourself? He didn't deny it. Amara stepped closer. I didn't survive this to run. You don't belong in this war, he said. Neither did you, she replied. But here we are. Silence stretched. Then Jaemin nodded once. Then we end it, he said. Together, Amara finished. For the first time, he didn't argue. Amara learned quickly that power didn't always fall with gunfire. Sometimes it fell with paper, with timestamps, with signatures, with voices recorded too clearly to deny. She sat at the dining table that morning with a laptop, a legal pad, and 3 phones laid out like instruments. Jae-min stood at the window, speaking softly into Korean on one line while messages stacked on the others. The house was awake, but tense. Staff moving carefully, the aunt conspicuously absent. Ji-hoon is trying to come back, Jae-min said without turning. He thinks he can trade information for safety. Amara's mouth curved without humor. He always thought charm would save him. He's not wrong, Jae-min said. It worked until it didn't. Amara slid a document across the table. The shell companies are tied to the same escrow account. If he opens his mouth, he incriminates himself. Jae-min turned then, studying her. Really studying her. You're calm, he observed. I'm focused, she corrected. There's a difference. Seo-jin made his move that afternoon. He didn't attack. He invited. A press conference quietly announced. A leak framed as concern. Allegations positioned as reform. He would expose the family, he claimed, to cleanse it, placing himself at the center as the only one willing to tell the truth. He's rewriting the board, Jae-min said grimly. Then we move the pieces, Amara replied. She didn't go public first. She went precise. Financial records went to the right desks, recordings to the right inboxes, a timeline to the right editor. Clean, unemotional, undeniable. She included the attempted kidnapping, the shell companies, the political bride's attempted sale, and Ji-hoon's flight. And she included Seo-jin's name, not as a villain, as an instigator. By the time Seo-jin stepped onto the stage, cameras already knew what to ask. His answers were smooth, his smile practiced, but the questions came sharper. Why were you at the estate the night of the attempted kidnapping? Why does your name appear on these accounts? Why did your brother disappear? Seo-jin's eyes flicked once, to the side, to Jae-min. Then, unexpectedly, to Amara, who stood just beyond the press line, steady and unflinching. Understanding crossed his face. You chose her. His smile thinned. The arrest came quietly, efficiently. No spectacle. Ji-hoon was detained 2 days later trying to leave the country through a private terminal he'd used too often to remain invisible. The aunt retreated. The house went still. And the Kang Empire didn't collapse. It restructured. Because Jae-min had already planned for that. The night after the arrests, the penthouse felt larger, quieter, like it was waiting. Jae-min stood near the windows, jacket discarded, sleeves rolled, the city stretched out beneath him. He looked tired in a way Amara hadn't seen before. Not worn down, but relieved. You're free, he said quietly. You can go. She stepped closer. Is that what you want? He turned, meeting her gaze. I want you safe. That wasn't my question. Silence stretched between them, heavy and honest. Jae-min exhaled. If you stay, it won't be because of a contract, or duty, or protection. Amara's chest tightened. Then why? Because I choose you, he said, without condition. She searched his face for hesitation, found none. And if I leave? She asked softly. His jaw tightened, just once. Then I will let you. That answer, the restraint in it, the respect, was what decided her. Amara reached for his hand. Then I'm staying. The relief that crossed his face was brief, controlled, but real. He pulled her gently into his arms, holding her like something precious and unowned. The marriage, for the first time, felt like a beginning. The city softened after midnight. Lights dimmed, traffic thinned, the world exhaled. Amara stood barefoot near the windows, wrapped in one of Jae-min's shirts, the fabric warm and faintly scented with him. She watched the glow below, feeling, finally, untethered. Behind her, she sensed him before she heard him, not approaching, waiting. "You're thinking again," he said quietly. She smiled. "You're watching." "I like knowing where you are," he admitted. "Old habit." She turned to face him. No jacket, no armor. His hair was slightly mussed, posture relaxed in a way that felt intimate rather than careless. "You don't have to stand guard," she said softly. "I know," he replied. Then, after a beat, "I want to." That honesty settled something deep in her chest. Amara stepped closer, closing the last of the space. "So this is the part where you stop pretending you're unaffected." A corner of his mouth lifted. "I stopped pretending the night you refused to be afraid." Her fingers curled into his shirt, slow, deliberate, feeling the solid truth of him beneath. His breath deepened. "You're sure?" he said quietly, hands hovering at her waist, still asking. "I've been sure," she answered. That was permission enough. Jaemin kissed her, deep, unrestrained, certain, like a decision finally acted on. His hands settled firmly at her hips, pulling her closer until there was no room left for doubt. The kiss grew slower, hotter, layered with weeks of restraint unraveling at once. Her hands slid beneath his shirt, tracing muscle, learning the tension she'd felt every night he'd slept beside her without touching. A low sound escaped him, rough, surprised. "You do this on purpose," he murmured against her mouth. "Yes," she breathed. "I do." He lifted her easily, carrying her away from the windows, away from the city, as if the rest of the world had finally lost its claim. He set her down gently, eyes never leaving hers, hands roaming with intention rather than urgency. Every movement was deliberate, every touch asked and answered. When he finally pressed his forehead to hers, breath uneven, control hanging by a thread, he whispered, "I've spent my life choosing what was necessary." Amara threaded her fingers into his hair, grounding him. "Then choose what you want." His restraint broke, not into chaos, but certainty. The world narrowed to heat and closeness and the quiet intensity of two people who had survived and still chosen each other. Time blurred. The city faded. Later, long after the night deepened, Amara lay against him, his arms secure around her waist, his thumb tracing slow circles against her skin. No distance, no calculation, just presence. "I choose you," he said quietly. "Every day, without condition." She smiled, eyes closed, finally at peace. "Good," she murmured, "because I didn't marry the wrong brother." He tightened his hold, not possessive, certain. A year later, Seoul glittered beneath a quieter empire. The house had changed. The aunt was gone. The rules were fewer and clearer. Jaemin's name carried weight, but not fear. Amara moved through the world with confidence that wasn't borrowed from anyone. They stood on the balcony at dusk, the city alive below them. "Any regrets?" Amara asked. Jaemin considered it honestly. "Everything." She laughed. "Except you," he finished, smiling. She leaned into him. "That's what I thought." She had come to Seoul as leverage. She stayed as a choice. And the marriage that began as a trap became something rare and hard-won. A life built on truth. And that's where the story ends. If you enjoyed I Married the Wrong Brother, you're officially inside the vault. Hit subscribe for more dark romance and dangerous choices. And tell me in the comments, would you have said yes at that altar?